You've been lied to, not just by words, but by expressions, compliments, apologies, favors. And the worst part, you probably thank them for it. Let's be clear, we won't waste your time. No fluff, no theory, no drawn-out explanations, just clear, actionable methods based on one of the sharpest minds in history. We're going straight into the psychology of exposure, how to see through masks, decode motives, and detect hidden threats before they become real ones. In this video, you'll learn how to do the same, without raising your voice, without showing your hand, and without ever needing to ask a single question. Machiavelli didn't just observe people, he tested them. He created pressure points that revealed hidden motives, secret envy, buried resentment, or fake loyalty. And you can do the same, quietly, surgically. All you need is the right setup and the discipline to watch without interference. Machiavelli wasn't just an observer of human behavior, he was a provocateur. He didn't wait for people to show who they were, he designed subtle traps that forced them to reveal what they'd rather conceal. Jealousy, resentment, performative loyalty, buried competition. All it took was the right kind of pressure, not confrontation but calibrated exposure. And you can do the same. Quietly. Precisely. Without saying a word. You don't need confrontation, you need setup. And the self-control to watch what most people miss. Let's begin. Test number 1. The celebration test. You've accomplished something, a promotion, a public win, a big opportunity, and naturally, you share the news with those closest to you. They smile. They nod. They say all the right things. But what matters isn't their words, it's what flickers across their face before the performance begins. A Machiavellian watches that moment. The first micro-expression, the instinct before the mask. Is it genuine joy? Is it a pause? Is it discomfort? Now watch the timing. Do they celebrate you immediately? Or does their voice lag behind their smile, like their mind is catching up to the role they're expected to play? Real friends light up without delay. Fake ones buffer. One reacts from instinct. The other scans the room, evaluates the social cost, then mirrors support. You don't correct them. You don't accuse. You don't even explain the test. You simply mark it. Because that hesitation, that tiny delay, tells you everything. They weren't afraid you'd fail. They were afraid you'd outgrow them. Test number 2, the denied favor test. You ask for something small, a favor they can easily give, then you take it back. Never mind, you say. Now watch. If they suddenly seem relieved, if their tone lightens too quickly, you've just caught their real intent. They were never planning to help, only looking for a way out. Their ease isn't kindness, it's exposure. And once you see it, you know, they weren't support. They were dead weight in disguise. Test number 3, the credit split test. This one's designed for coworkers, collaborators, and partners, anyone whose success is tied to yours. Here's how it works. You give them the opportunity to claim credit. You intentionally leave room for them to highlight their role. You even start by praising them first. Then you pay attention to what they say next. The right people will respond with something like, "Yeah, we nailed it together," or, "Honestly, I couldn't have done it without you," or, "You really led the way." But a Machiavellian is listening for something else. The parasite. The person who takes your compliment and uses it to elevate themselves. They might smile and say, "Yeah, I had to really push to make it happen," or, "It was tough, but I made the right calls," or even worse, they just smile, say nothing, and soak up the moment like it was theirs alone. That silence, or that subtle shift towards self-congratulation, tells you everything. In their version of the story, you've already been edited out. Be careful. People who can't share credit usually can't handle watching you succeed. They don't see teamwork, they see a ladder. And you? You're just one more rung they want to stand on. Test number 4, the small disagreement test. You offer a mild disagreement. Nothing personal, nothing intense, just a difference of opinion. "I actually see it a bit differently," or, "Not sure I agree with that, but interesting take." Now you watch closely, because this test is all about ego control. Do they ask you to elaborate? Do they try to understand where you're coming from? Or do they immediately push back? Do they talk over you? Do they mock your point in a subtle way? Do they shut down, go quiet, or pull their energy back from the conversation? Do they smile politely, but clench their jaw just enough to notice? A Machiavellian knows, if someone can't handle the smallest bit of disagreement, they won't survive around real power. They don't want equals. They want reflection. They want obedience disguised as agreement. This test might seem minor, but it's critical. Because if someone reacts negatively to something small, they'll become a threat when real pressure shows up. Anyone who punishes you for disagreeing, even slightly, isn't a friend. They're a problem waiting to happen. These first 4 tests reveal far more than surface reactions. They reveal how someone actually sees the world. How they respond to your success. A simple request, shared credit, or a bit of disagreement tells you exactly how they'll act when something important is on the line. Machiavelli never waited around for betrayal. He created the conditions that made it show itself early. He understood that the human heart is layered and complex, but apply the right kind of pressure, and what's hidden always finds a way out. The key is not to force the truth, just to build an environment where the truth has nowhere to hide. And we're just getting started. There are still 3 more Machiavellian tests, and the next one doesn't just reveal the person in front of you. It flips the power dynamic before they even realize you're reading them. Machiavelli's brilliance wasn't in spotting lies. It was in drawing out truths that people didn't even know they were leaking. He didn't wait for betrayal to crash into him. He caused small tremors first, to see who panicked and who pretended nothing happened. These aren't mind games. They're psychological stress tests. And the calmer you stay while running them, the more violently fake people show you exactly who they are. Test 5. The delayed response test. You send someone a message, something important or time-sensitive, and then you wait. Not nervously but deliberately, to observe. How quickly do they get back to you? Are you a priority, or just another item on their to-do list? And more importantly, how does their behavior change when they need something from you? Because here's the truth, how someone responds when you reach out versus when they do reveals everything about their loyalty. If they're slow to reply when it's about you but quick when it benefits them, you're not a relationship, you're a resource. Machiavelli would treat this as a quiet red flag. He might say, delayed replies aren't always disrespect, but consistent delays only when it's about you? That's calculated. You don't need to confront them, just adjust your expectations. Don't treat their requests as urgent if they never treat yours that way. Don't be available to those who are only strategic with you. Because people who make you wait are showing you they prefer you just a little uncertain, so they can stay just a little more in control. Test 6. The public praise test. Machiavelli knew people reveal more when others are watching. So if you want to see someone clearly, compliment them in front of an audience. Say something kind. Acknowledge their effort or strength. Then pay attention. Do they reflect that praise back to you? Or do they absorb it like it was earned alone? Even worse, do they use that moment to shift the spotlight completely away from you? This test works because it adds social pressure. It shows how someone handles credit and attention when the room is watching. If they act like it was all them, if they get louder, more dominant, subtly edge you out, that's your answer. They don't see you as a teammate. They see you as background. They won't say it out loud, but they'll show it by ignoring your role, claiming shared wins, and letting the spotlight stay only on them. These aren't collaborators, they're brand builders. And your praise is just fuel for their image. Machiavelli wouldn't argue, he'd just stop feeding them attention. Because anyone who can't share the stage will, eventually, try to take it from you completely. Test 7. The controlled disadvantage. This might be the most revealing test of all. You deliberately give someone a slight advantage. Let them win a disagreement, accept their terms in a deal, or make them feel like they've outplayed you. Then you wait. Not because you've lost, but because now their true nature surfaces. People with good intent will use that moment to show appreciation, to protect the connection, to balance the dynamic. But the wrong kind of person? They'll push further. That small taste of power turns into appetite. Instead of preserving trust, they start testing your limits. Because to them, kindness equals weakness, and weakness means one thing: take more. This was one of Machiavelli's favorite strategies at court, pretending to lose just to see who'd become a tyrant the second they thought he was off guard. Because the real test of character isn't how someone handles losing, it's how they act when they think they've won. These 7 tests aren't confrontational, they're quiet, subtle, and built on patience. You don't explain. You don't argue. You simply observe. And in that space, people reveal more than they ever would under pressure. That's the Machiavellian method, not to wait for betrayal, but to bring it forward gently, through deliberate precision. These aren't mind games. They're instruments. Because once you've seen how someone acts when they think the mask is still on, you stop falling for charm, loyalty, or warmth that only lasts when you're beneath them. Now let's go a level deeper. Because once the truth is clear, the real question becomes, what do you do with it? By now, you understand, people reveal who they are when they think you're not watching. A little pressure, the right moment, and what they hide with words leaks out through behavior. Machiavelli didn't wait for confession, he watched for patterns. And when you run these 7 tests, you're not just seeing intent, you're uncovering their strategy. So what happens once you've seen it? Once someone shows envy, entitlement, or subtle sabotage, you don't react emotionally. You don't expose them or warn others. You move strategically, shift your posture, pull back your energy, and quietly rebalance the power. Because now you're ahead. Step 1. Don't change anything at first. The knee-jerk reaction is to confront or cut them off. But that's emotion, not control. If you show your hand, they'll build a new mask. You've just taught them how to hide better. So instead, stay calm. Say nothing. Keep your tone polite. Internally, you've already moved them from ally to liability, but externally, you're still composed. That's what confuses them most, being silently cut out while everything looks the same. You're not pulling the rug, you're cutting the strings while they're still dancing. Step 2. Shift from investment to extraction. Once you've identified someone as disloyal, your strategy shifts. Where you once invested time, trust, and energy, now you move into extraction. Ask yourself, what value can still be gained without cost? What do they know? What access or influence can you quietly observe? This isn't about revenge, it's about protecting your position. You don't need to confront or humiliate them. You simply make sure that whatever's left of the relationship serves your goals, not theirs. Because here's the hard truth Machiavelli understood. If someone was willing to manipulate you once, they'll do it again. The only question is whether you give them another opportunity, or turn them into a psychological case study. If any part of this video resonated with you, if it felt like it put words to something you've quietly known, then don't disappear. Subscribe, leave a comment, or share it with someone who needs the same clarity. It's noticed. It's appreciated. Thank you. Step 3. Redesign their role. Not everyone who fails a test needs to be removed. Some still have strategic value. But now, their position changes. Think like a tactician. Do you keep them close to mislead? Do you separate them from key decisions? Do you surround them with loyalty to dilute their influence? Machiavelli didn't burn bridges unless it served him. He preferred to reposition. A hidden threat still thinking it's trusted is far easier to control than one on high alert. They'll keep talking. They'll keep revealing. All while thinking you're still blind. This is how you use an enemy, without ever naming them one. You don't demote them with words, but through silence, limited access, and withheld trust. Let them feel the shift. Let them wonder. Let their own doubt unravel them. Step 4. Turn the insight into structure. Every failed test gives you intel, not for payback, but to reinforce your frame. Now you know who needs distance, who requires boundaries, who must be watched, and who's lost access for good. This shifts your mindset from reactive to precise. No more giving the benefit of the doubt. No more excuses like, maybe they didn't mean it. No more hoping they'll change. Because a Machiavellian doesn't rely on hope. He watches, confirms, and adjusts. You don't have to explain what you saw. You simply move like someone who sees too much to pretend otherwise. And that quiet shift in energy? It says everything. Step 5. Lead with quiet authority. Once you've redrawn the map, your presence has to reflect it. Machiavelli wouldn't confront a disloyal ally unless it was necessary. He'd just stop signaling weakness. You do the same. No excessive praise, no justifying yourself, no emotional cushioning, and no feeding their ego. Speak less, smile less, ask fewer questions. Respond with calm, detached clarity. You become unreadable, and that makes manipulators uneasy. They can't tell if they're being punished or if you've simply evolved into someone they can't decode anymore. And that's power. Let's be honest, these tests aren't for the insecure. They're not meant for people chasing attention or stirring drama. They're for the strategist, the one intentionally building a life too solid to be infiltrated by soft enemies or counterfeit allies. Because every person you let near your thoughts, your time, or your work has the potential to shift your direction. And if you don't test their intentions, their instincts become your responsibility. But when you do test them, quietly, without warning, letting their real nature surface, you gain something rare: clarity. Not based on wishful thinking, but on actual behavior. And once that clarity sets in, the world around you becomes simpler, quieter, and sharper. Because now, you don't just see who people are, you see what they want, what they fear, what they're hiding, and how far they're willing to go to maintain a mask. You begin to recognize not just the obvious betrayals, but the subtle misalignments, the flinch in their voice when you win, the silence when you need support, the casual minimization of your effort. These moments used to slip by unnoticed. Not anymore. Once you see someone for who they are, you can't unsee it. You might keep the peace, wear a smile, play the role, but inside, something has shifted. And that shift is final. Because now the mask is gone, and so is the illusion of balance. Where you once reacted to what they said, now you study what they do. Where you once gave freely, now you pause. Where someone once held space in your life by default, now they have to earn every inch of it. And that recalibration doesn't just protect you, it redefines you. Because your boundaries aren't walls, they're filters. They don't keep everyone out, they keep the wrong ones from getting in. That's how Machiavelli moved through courts full of manipulators, opportunists, and professional charmers. He didn't run. He didn't argue. He simply used them until their value ran out. Then, without a word, he disappeared. Not dramatically, but with surgical precision. Now you've seen the game behind the smiles, the strategies behind the silence, and the instincts that most people mistake for personality. You're no longer walking blind through alliances, handshakes, compliments, or apologies. You're watching. You're reading. You've begun the shift from emotional exposure to strategic advantage. But let's be honest, this is just the start. Because exposure, by itself, doesn't make you powerful. It makes you aware. And awareness without application is just noise. The question now is this: will you let these insights sit in your head, or will you weaponize them? Because Machiavelli didn't just analyze, he built systems. He didn't just detect danger, he constructed defenses. You're not here to become paranoid. You're here to become precise. So what's next? You refine your circle. You stop chasing loyalty and start filtering for it. You don't tell people to earn your trust, you give them space to either confirm or collapse under pressure. You don't beg for honesty, you create the kind of environment where dishonesty has nowhere to hide. This isn't emotional detachment, it's surgical focus. It's how you build a reality that protects your ambition instead of constantly bleeding it. And from here on out, every interaction becomes a choice, not an accident. Every access point into your mind, your time, your energy, earned, not assumed. But there's another level. Because once you master exposure and boundaries, you begin to shape perception itself. You stop just reading people, you start designing the frames they see you through. Your silence becomes loud. Your presence becomes architecture. And people begin adjusting themselves to you without realizing why. That's where we're headed next. In the upcoming videos, we'll go beyond detection, into design, into influence, into the invisible tools of power that don't just reveal reality, they bend it. You'll learn how to become unreadable without becoming distant, how to correct people without speaking, how to create loyalty without asking for it, and how to structure your presence so precisely others feel the need to explain themselves without you even saying a word. This isn't manipulation. It's psychological clarity. And clarity, when applied correctly, becomes control, not through aggression, but through inevitability. So if you felt something shift in you today, keep going. Because this channel isn't about passive learning. It's a blueprint. For those who are done being figured out. For those who are ready to stop reacting and start positioning. For those who are done bleeding for people who only show up when the lights are on. The next level isn't louder. It's quieter. And it starts with a single question. If everyone is playing a role, who wrote your script? If it wasn't you, it's time to take the pen back.